Hey everyone, it's Paul Stevens here again with iGo Sales and Marketing. Sorry it's been a while since my last video. Things have been busy. Today I'd like to introduce, if you're not already familiar with it, is Mautic. And Mautic is an excellent, I don't know if I want to say addition, integration, but it's a great piece of software to use with SuiteCRM. It's free and open source, just like SuiteCRM is. You can install it on your own server. Today, I'm not going to go through so much how to install it on your own server. There are guides for doing that. But today, what I'd like to show you is how to integrate Mautic with SuiteCRM. Okay. There's not a lot online, and I've spent like sort of a lot of time over the years perfecting how to get the integration to work right. It does work. It does work with SuiteCRM 7. It does work with SuiteCRM 8. There's a couple bugs in the most current version of Mautic, which I'll mention. And if you go look on GitHub, you'll see I've put a solution there to get the sync working again. But before I get into all that, just really quickly, like, why do you want to do this? Okay, so first of all, the email in SuiteCRM is, it's not great. Not only are there a lot of problems with it, but email campaigns I find are just overly complicated. They don't, unless you spend a ton of time setting up, links and all kinds of stuff, you don't really get a lot of information back about click-throughs. It's really difficult to set up the bounce handling stuff properly and understand which ones bounced and unsubscribe people. The unsubscribe methodology is a whole other complex thing in SuiteCRM. And for someone who wants to just send out a newsletter or something like that, SuiteCRM will work just fine. But if you want to get into more complex campaigns, like where you're sending, for example, the day the person fills out the form, they get, a thank you email. And then a couple days later, they get, hey, check out some of my reviews. And then a couple days later, they get, hey, check out my portfolio. And hey, here's a free guide to, whatever it is that you're interested in 4 days later, So setting up those kinds of campaigns in SuiteCRM, while it is possible with workflow, it's really difficult to manage if you have any more than a couple of those rules. And also, it doesn't really handle well, if the person, opened the email, do this. If the person then downloaded the asset, then do this. Mautic is built for this kind of stuff. Plus, you can also track not only email opens, but whether the person has been on your website in the past, what forms they filled in. You get a complete dossier of all the engagement activities that the person has done with your digital content. So once you get that, not only do you have way better information and it's way easier to send stuff out, but you can start to use that intelligence to score the lead and push the lead score back to SuiteCRM and get real intelligence to your salespeople about this particular lead out of the 10,000 that we have was just on our website looking at the product page for, XYZ, and, give them a call, right? So you get really, really good information that way. Anyway, I'll probably do more videos on SuiteCRM, on Mautic and some of these things I'm talking about in more detail and what kind of information that you can get. But today I just really want to show you it's fairly straightforward to set up the integration. There are, a ton of things you can do wrong. But hopefully with this video you'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so I've got a SuiteCRM installed here. I had originally done the integration just to test it on this dev install I have here, but you can see there's no contacts, there's no companies. It's fresh. Okay, so I have a development version of SuiteCRM with a bunch of test contacts and leads and stuff in it. So the first step here we're going to want to do is go to our SuiteCRM, and this is dev, and if you've ever downloaded all the test content, you will see that you have all like the test leads and stuff in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the first thing is I need to set up an API key. Okay, so I'm going to go to admin. Okay, and here's the first place people stumble is which API key do you need? Do you need OAuth 2 or OAuth? Okay, you need this one, the OAuth keys. All right. So I'm going to go in here, and just for the sake of today, I already have one set up, but I'll just create a new one. Okay, so we're going to create an OAuth key. And I don't know why this test install is super slow. I got a whole bunch of like dev stuff running in the background that I've done on it, so that's probably why. But anyway, so we'll call this Mautic test 2. Doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it whatever you want. Consumer key, again, same thing. Just make it a bunch of random, letters and numbers. Okay, don't put any special characters in it because that could mess it up. So I'm going to do, same thing here. So now I've got a consumer key and a consumer secret. I'll probably blur this out or just get rid of it later. I'm not sure which, but one of the two. And yeah, you don't want to share this thing because essentially that's like a password into your SuiteCRM. All right. So I'm just going to save that. Okay. So now that I have it saved, I need both of these things. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this open. So I'm going to go, the next step is to go to Mautic. Okay, so I've got Mautic installed, it's fresh install, I've logged in, everything's good. So I'm going to go to here, plugins, and sorry, it's kind of behind my camera. So integrations and plugins. Okay, then if this is your first install, you probably won't see all these plugins here. So you'll have to click on here, install and upgrade plugins. In my case, I've already done that, so they're all here. So what we want is the Sugar CRM plugin, okay? And I've got some of this sort of pre-configured a little bit, but I'll go through all the steps with you. All right, so when you first open it, obviously all this stuff is going to be blank, okay? So you want to make sure it's active. You want to put in your path or your URL to SuiteCRM, okay? Now, I've had occasions where sometimes like it doesn't work, and then you take out the slash on the end and it does work, or you put the slash back in and then it does work. So you may want to try both ways. That's one common area where there seems to be some kind of problem sometime, but I know this one works. So anyway, this one I'm going to put in my client key. So that's the consumer key from SuiteCRM. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste. Okay. And then I'm going to put the client secret in. So that's this guy. Okay, so I think I have one. I've got a colon in there. I'm going to get rid of that because sometimes the special characters cause issues. So I'm just going to make sure there's no special characters. I'm going to resave this one. Edit. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to paste in my secret here. Whoops. Okay, and then I've got a username and password. So you've got a few options here. You can, in this case, it's a test one. So I'm just using the admin login for my test site. Okay, you might want to create like a user that's just for API and like give them access to like nothing but API sort of thing. That might be like from a security perspective in your live environment, that might be a better idea. So then you need the username and the password of that user. Okay. Then I know you're probably thinking like, well, I'm on 7.14. I should click on 7x. No. Okay. You want the 6x community version. Okay. Because it's still based on the original Sugar community version. The Sugar from 7 Plus has a different API connection method. Okay, so we want the 6x community. That's another pitfall that people get into. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to go to our let's just save this first, and it's going to wipe out everything that I've done already, but if I save it, it'll make sure that at least it has connected. Okay, so if once I save it and I go to contact mapping and I actually have contact stuff there, I know it's connected. Okay, if you don't have like contacts and company coming up there after you save it, it's not connecting. Okay, so I'm just to prove the point here, I'm just going to save and close and open it again. Okay, so the fact that you can see these tabs means it is connecting. Okay, if you don't see those, not connecting. You got a problem with either your URL, your client key, your secret, or your username and your password. Okay, but when you see these two come up after you save it, that's a good sign. It means like step one is done. You connected. Okay, so the next thing you want to have a look at here are some of the features. Okay, so for example, you can have a number of ways in which contacts get pushed back and forth. I usually check everything, but you can do what makes sense for you. So triggered actions to push contacts to the integration. So in Mautic, there are, like, for example, on a form fill, you can say when the form is filled, push it to the CRM. Okay, so that's what they mean by a triggered action. Okay, so generally, yeah, you want that checked if you want to use triggered actions. Pull contacts and companies from the integration. So this is, do you want, like when you enter a new record in SuiteCRM, do you want it pulled into Mautic? Of course you do. That's the whole point of this, right? So check that off. Okay, and then if a new company gets added to Mautic, do you want to push it to SuiteCRM? Well, of course you do. So you could, for example, uncheck this and only push contacts like when they meet a certain criteria if you want to. I just push everything, so all the contacts back and forth are synced. Okay, some other things, you can update the contact owner. So for example, and this is useful if you have lots of different people sending out emails from Mautic. Obviously you want to send it out from the contact owner, so you want to sync that. That's a good idea. Okay, you also want to update emails do not contact. So if the person unsubscribes in Mautic, it will unsubscribe them in SuiteCRM, just in case you're using both, or at least you'll even know in the SuiteCRM or the Mautic SuiteCRM side, sorry, that they have unsubscribed, right? So your sales rep's going to know that. The other thing here is that, do you want to sync leads? Do you want to sync contacts? And you want to sync accounts? It's up to you. Maybe you just want to sync leads. But you can sync everything, which is what I normally do. Okay, this last part here requires a whole bunch of stuff to set up. So I think originally there is a, I guess, module that you can set up for like Mautic activities kind of thing, and so all the like visited website, opened email, got sent an email, all that stuff can get pushed to SuiteCRM. I actually have a blog on that on my website about how to set all that up. Honestly, for what it's worth, it's kind of too much information for your salespeople. So what they really need to know is like the key points when something happens that they need to take action. If you give the sales rep 400 data points for each lead that they have, they're going to be looking at their leads all day and not, reaching out to them, right? So for the most part, it's not super important to do this part. If you have it set up, you can tell it which things you actually want to push to SuiteCRM. But again, you can have none. It doesn't matter. It's not going to work unless you build the module in SuiteCRM to accept this. Okay. All right, so that's this page. Okay, so now we'll go to the contacts. Okay, so it lists the integration fields. So these are all the fields it pulled in from SuiteCRM, and then these are what fields do you want it to sync with in Mautic. Okay, so there are some required fields, obviously. They're highlighted in red here. So the email field in SuiteCRM is going to be synced with the email field in Mautic. Okay, last name, email, email. So notice here it says contacts, email, contacts, last name, leads, email, and leads, last name. They're different things in SuiteCRM, but in Mautic, there's just contacts, okay? And don't worry, Mautic figures out, like if it's converted from a lead to a contact, which record to push that to. All that stuff is figured out, so you don't have to worry about that. But just understand that there's not a differentiation between leads and contacts in SuiteCRM. So, and again, you won't have duplicates either. You're not going to have a contact and a lead. You're just going to have the active one. Is how that works. So, but basically, so you want to go through all the fields here for contacts, and you want to you can do some of them, all of them, none of them. Other than you need to do the core ones here, like email address, first name, or email address and last name for both leads and contacts. Okay. Mautic has a bunch of standard fields here, just like SuiteCRM. But if you have fields other than these that you want to sync to, like, I don't know if I have any custom fields here that I can think of. Well, I have one custom field here built. Okay, so this is useful. So the ID on the SuiteCRM side is the record ID, but there's no such, well, there is a record ID for Mautic, but it's not easy to sort of see that. So what I like to do is I'll create a custom field on the Mautic side called SuiteCRM ID, and then I'll make that the ID in SuiteCRM, so I always know which record I'm working with, and I have some other uses for that as well. But that can be a kind of an important one, and I also make that in Mautic. The nomenclature, what they call it, isn't coming to me, but basically a unique field. Sorry, a unique field, so that there can not be two records with that SuiteCRM ID. Email is the same. You can only have one. So if you have two contacts with the same email address, it's going to think they're duplicates and it's not going to accept it. Okay. So that's another little quirk of Mautic. Again, this isn't a whole lesson on Mautic, just the integration. Okay. So I also built a custom field in SuiteCRM Mautic points. So again, there's the lead scoring that goes on in Mautic that I want to push back to SuiteCRM. So you'll notice here I have the arrow going this way, okay, as opposed to going this way. The way the sync works is if you add a record in Mautic, it will add it in SuiteCRM, guaranteed. You add a record in SuiteCRM, it'll add it to Mautic, guaranteed. If you change a record in SuiteCRM, it will change it in Mautic, okay? If, however, you have the field this way, okay, what it's supposed to do is Mautic becomes sort of like the master here, and it will update the field in SuiteCRM as opposed to the other way around, okay? Now, that's not quite working right. I do have a workaround for that using webhooks, but for sure, the SuiteCRM to Mautic sync is working, okay? This, I might do another video on how to solve that problem, because without getting into too much detail, the code itself, the way it updates and then checks for an update and then looks when the last record was updated, it gets a little bit tangled up, and it basically, it never returns true that it's ready to push the other way, because the other date always overwrites it, is long story short. Anyway, I found a workaround with that. Another video on another day. But anyway, for sure it works, SuiteCRM to Mautic, and it pushes records back the other way. The only issue is if you make the record in Mautic like a particular field that you want to update SuiteCRM the other way, that's where the issue comes in. Anyway, have a workaround for that. Okay, so you'll notice these are all contacts. You want to make sure you go through and sync all the fields that you want for leads as well, okay? And then when you are done, you just save, okay? And save and close, okay? And at this point, like, that's most of the configuration done. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to do, you need to set up a cron job to make this happen, right, in the background. So it runs every hour or something and syncs all the contacts. But for one off, you want to go through and do like just like a mass update, so it gets everybody. Okay. Because in the job you set a time frame. Like obviously if you have 10,000 records, every time you do the sync, you don't want to sync 10,000 records, right? So when you set up your cron job, you do it to just like, maybe let's say you run it every hour, and you only need to sync records that have changed in the last hour, right? So once you set it up once, it just handles the changes. But the first time you want to kind of run this from terminal and just run a big job. You could also run a cron job and just let it run once. But either way, I'm going to show you what I do here. So I've got terminal here opened up, and I'm in my Mautic directory. Okay, and I'll put a link to. Let me go back here. I've got my instructions here. I'll put a link to the actual like, I guess, command that you need here down below. And I may write a blog article on this to give you like written steps as well. I'll see how things go. Okay. But what we want here is, okay, I'm going to copy this once, and for some reason it automatically executes it when I copy it, but that's okay. So what I want is, it's going to look in bin console in the Mautic install, and it's going to run the integration sync contacts. It's going to run the integration sugar CRM and the time interval for 2 days. So it's going to go back 2 days. I for the first run, I don't want that. I want everything. Okay. I've had issues like when you run it as a blank, like, so just integration sugar CRM, it's supposed to get them all. There's also a switch fetch all. I've had the most luck getting this to work by doing something like this. So I'll go here, 10 year. Okay, so when we're setting up our cron job, obviously we're not going to go back 10 years every time we run the cron job once an hour, right? Okay, so I'm going to just run this, and let's keep our fingers crossed here and hope this works. Okay, so far so good. It hasn't crashed out. Okay, so it found 1,700 leads, and it found 77 companies. Okay, and it got them all. So at this point, if we go back into Mautic here and I go to my contacts, I'm going to see that I have all of my contacts set up. Okay, so if we go to companies and have a look here, you'll see that it brought in the companies, but like there's no contacts. So sometimes I find I have to run this twice. Okay. Let's just copy that. And there's another very similar command that is fetch leads. Sometimes I've run that too to get the company link going properly. Okay, so let's just see if it linked up any of my contacts. There it goes. So see, now it's just like SuiteCRM, where in the company you have the contacts that work at that company. Okay, so let's go back to contacts here. Okay, so here's my list of contacts. I'm just going to open one up here, for example, but right now, obviously, there's no history going on, and I haven't sent any emails. This person hasn't visited my website. There's no clicks, but you'll see the contact record down below about what happens with this contact. The other thing, if you're troubleshooting here, is if you click on integrations, you can see that this came from a lead. and then the lead ID and the date it was added and the last sync date. Okay, so that's often useful in troubleshooting this if it's not working or something. Okay, so now that I've done that, I now need a cron job to happen on a regular basis to do that update. Okay, so I've got cPanel opened up here, and I'll just go to my cron job for this one. Okay, this guy. Okay, so what we have here is it's running like every minute. Okay, you can do it every hour, you can do it once a day, whatever makes sense for you. Okay, so I have it just running every minute because, you know, often I'm doing testing in the test environment, and I want to update quickly so I can see if what I changed worked. Okay, so again, it's the same sort of command. Wherever you're hosted is going to have a particular format and the path to the file and all that kind of business. But this happens to be GoDaddy, so it's, you know, user local bin PHP, and then it's the path to where it's installed, and then integration, time interval 1 minute. So I'm doing it every minute for a time interval of 1 minute. Okay, so I'm like updating every new records quickly. Okay, but you might want to do it every hour for a time interval of 1 hour kind of thing. Okay, or every day for a time interval of 1 day. Whatever makes sense for you. But that's going to have to run in your cron jobs in the background in order for that sync to continue to happen over time. Okay, and that's it. So you know, just so you can see here, I'm going to go to my leads, and I'm going to create a lead, and we'll call it Mr. New Mautic testing number 4. Okay, and then I'm obviously testing at testing.com as a minimum in SuiteCRM here. Okay, so I'm going to save that record. Okay, so if I look in Mautic in my contacts, I'm going to search for New Mautic. Okay, and it's not going to be there yet because the cron job hasn't run yet, but I'm just going to force it to run by I'm going to force this to run here just by cutting and pasting the command back in here. But I don't need to go all the way back to 10 years. I'm just going to do 2 days. Okay, and it's going to run. It's going to find my contact. It's going to sync it. And if I go back to Mautic and I'll just refresh this, there's my new lead. Okay, so that works pretty cool. I mean, I can do stuff like I can't remember what I synced, but let's say I change the last name to Mautic testing number 5. Okay, and I'll save that. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to run my command again. Okay, so if I go and look at my lead here, New Mautic, you'll see my last name is going to be testing number 4. Oh, you know what? I didn't sync last name. Okay, let me change the first name, and just to demonstrate that it is working. Okay, so I'm going to save that one, and I'm going to run the command again, and I'm going to go back to my contacts, and you'll see it changed the name to New Mautic 2. Okay, so the sync works. It really works well. I'll probably do more videos on how best to use Mautic with SuiteCRM, but you can see now that it's super easy to set up. There's a few quirky things, but it does work. It works on SuiteCRM 7, it works on SuiteCRM 8, and you get access to things like, you know, for example, you know, compare this to SuiteCRM's email builder. Okay. So I'll just start with one of the blank ones here. Okay, I'll go to my builder. Okay, look how much nicer that is than SuiteCRM. You can add, I want to add a 3-column layout in, I want to add a text block over here, I want to add, an image over here. I'll just pick something I have already in there. Okay, add the image. Boom, it's there. I want to add some list items over here. Oh, okay, so I got my list items, and so on and so forth. It's just so much easier to deal with. You have full, sort of, if you know CSS and HTML, you've got full editing things over here. You can set stuff with classes, and then you can go into the actual HTML and add style codes. It's way better than the email builder and SuiteCRM. So that's one of the reasons why I use it. And it's got a really fantastic campaign builder. I did one here as a demo for a client, how to do a webinar demo. So basically, and all this is drag and drop building. I'm going to launch the campaign builder. So it's taking all my leads, and it's saying, did they fill in the webinar sign up form? If they did, then they're going to get the webinar details. And then after October 31st, that's after the webinar is supposed to happen, if they attended, they will have a tag on their account that they attended, and if they didn't, they won't. So they will get a thank you email saying thanks for attending, and here's a link to the video, or they will get a sorry you missed it, here's a link to the video, and then the people that did attend will get added to another post-campaign nurture email campaign. Okay, so it's super, super powerful, super easy to use, and again, I do this for a living. I help people set up SuiteCRM. I train their salespeople. I train their marketing people. I can help you set up complex campaigns like this with the email builder. I can sync it to your SuiteCRM, set up a good lead scoring system for you so that we can get that intelligence back to your salespeople. That's what I do. So if you need help with any of that stuff, please just reach out to me. Contact information is going to be down below, and if you can like the video, please like and subscribe. That really helps me out. Thank you so much.